This is Lisa Honaker. I am interviewing my mom for the Appalachian Studies interview. And what's your name?
Mary Henderson.
And when were you born?
July 1939.
And who were some of your family members?
Madge Davidson, mother. William Henry Henderson, father. Polly Davidson, grandmother. Ulysses Davidson, grandfather. William Marshall Collins, great-grandfather.
Okay. Are there any special items that you can think of that you've had, like keepsakes or anything like that, that remind you of Appalachia?
Yes, I have pictures of trips taken and through the Appalachian Mountains and down through Kentucky, and where my family on my mother's side originated. They always called it Up Big Sandy.
Yeah. Can you tell me about going to Granny's farm during the summers?
Oh, yes. Always after school was out. And we always did lots of things on the farm. She had a truck, and it had I'm not sure exactly what to call it, but she put it on the truck, and she was able to carry cattle to the stockyard to sell, and she would put it on the truck sometime when there was a lot of us, and we would ride back there, and that, of course, was fun.
Like a cage on the truck bed?
Yes. So us people couldn't get out, and the animals couldn't get out. And we would go around visiting family that was in the area. My grandmother and grandfather worked in the shipyards. During World War II, my grandmother worked in a gun factory, and they saved their money, and my grandmother's sister and her husband and my grandmother's brother, Foster Collins, and other members of the family, they all worked up there and saved their money and come back after the war, and all bought farms within area around each other, and it was they could go and visit each other.
What kind of games did you all play on the farm growing up?
Oh, we played in the barn. There was a rope in the middle of the barn on a pulley, and we would go to one loft and swing to the other loft. And we would make mud pies, and we would play store, and milkweed has a pod inside it, and that pod looks like a fish, and we'd pretend that was fish. and we just played ordinary farm games, not farm games, but games kids played. We played for hours on hours playing Monopoly. And of course, had me and my cousins, we'd have arguments. And we had a big time playing the Monopoly.
Did you have any siblings growing up?
No, I was an only child. My baby sister, she died.
So you just had your cousins. How many cousins did you have growing up?
3, and then there was 4, but by the time the 4th one came along, I was a teenager then. But he still spent time over on the farm with us.
Yeah, so those are the ones that you played and hung out with on the farm?
Yes.
Do you ever remember Granny talking about her childhood and memories of growing up being Melungeon?
No, I don't. The only memory that I can remember of my grandmother saying something, but she was already a grown woman by then. She did tell about her brother Fenris. He worked in the mines, or he was an officer in the Union maybe, and supposedly one time they blew up one of his cars. I don't remember much of what the stories were, but I remember her talking about growing up.
Yeah. Do you miss the close connection you had with all the family from your childhood as opposed to the way it is now?
Oh, yes. There's only us cousins left, and we lost one last year, so there's only there's only 4 of us left now. And we're all getting to the age that we could go anytime. And it's always good that we can get together and be with the family, but I do miss all of that time.
What about some of Granny's cooking? What do you miss? What kind of foods do you miss that Granny made?
Oh, just about everything. She used to make fry a squash, and that squash was called a summer squash, and it was kind of a flat squash. It wasn't totally fat, and it had scallops all around the edges of it. And she would fry that, and that was really, really good. And of course, green onions, but just about everything that she made except head cheese. And that was made from the head of a pig.
Yeah. I miss
she
her.
made it one time, and I asked her what it was, and she told me. And she asked me if I wanted to have a bite, and I wished I'd never done it. That was awful, awful tasting stuff.
I miss her fried eggplant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She liked eggplant, and she taught you to eat it.
Yep.
And my granny was one of those cooks that she didn't use a recipe. It was a handful of this and a pinch of that and a gob of this, and the cornbread was made that way and biscuits were made that way, and they were, of course, all very good to eat.
Yep. And never able to copy those recipes down and pass them down just right.
Just one recipe, and that was her chocolate pie recipe. And a friend of my aunt's watched her make that one time, and she wrote down everything that she used. And one of the ingredients, naturally, was the cocoa. And I don't remember the exact measurements of the cocoa, but I believe it was 1 tablespoon of cocoa and 1 tablespoon spilling.
Yeah.
And that was the way the recipe was written down.
Yeah.
And
I remember you all talking about trying to watch her make stuff and write the recipes down and writing down what spoon she used and how much of each one, how many spoonfuls of each one she used, and
yeah, she put it in the dish, and then Amy Bill's friend, she'd get it out of the dish and put it in measuring spoons and do it that way. And my granny taught me how to bake. She taught me how to make cakes, and she never taught me how to make biscuits, and I wish she had. And she always told me, I don't know whether this was what was passed down to her or the way it was, but she always told me in making a cake, if you beat the eggs too long, it will make the cake heavy.
yeah.
And there was another one right now, it doesn't exactly come to me, but she taught me how to bake. There were a lot of things I wish she had taught me, or I wished I had asked, especially the biscuits. She, I don't know how she did it, what she did to them, but they had an entirely different taste than other biscuits. And the closest I have ever ate a biscuit coming close to the way hers tasted was biscuits from Tudor's.
Yeah.
Not Tudor's. What's the
tape
one down in Peeville that we always get a biscuit? Is that Tudor's?
Yeah, that's Tudor's.
Okay, it was Tudor's. And they were big and fat and tall like hers were.
Yeah. What about when you got married and moved to Florida with Dad? Did anybody make fun of your Appalachian accent or things that you did down there that were different than them?
Not really. I was made fun of over in Ohio where the farm was, and the farm was between Waverly and Beaver, Ohio, and it was not far from Piketon where they built the A plant, but people talked about my southern drawl, and West Virginia, of course, is not that southern, not like Georgia and Mississippi and the Carolinas.
Yeah. All right, well, I think I'm done. So I'm going to end the video.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.